Hey, you. Yeah, you. Sitting there with your shoulders tense and your mind racing. Maybe from the news. Maybe from your unread messages. Maybe from nothing in particular. Just that gnawing feeling. That pressure behind the eyes. That sense that something's wrong, but you can't quite name it. Let's take a breath. Together. Because tonight, we're going to sit down not with a therapist, not with a life coach, but with someone who lived almost 2,000 years ago. Someone who was born a slave, walked with a limp, had no wealth to his name, but who, somehow, was free. Free of fear, free of anxiety, free of despair. His name was Epictetus. And if you asked him about anxiety in 2025, he'd probably look around, raise an eyebrow, and ask, "Is it yours?" Not in the condescending way, not like someone waving your pain away, but like someone who sees right through the noise to what actually matters. Let me explain. Anxiety isn't new. The heart-racing, stomach-churning, voice-cracking weight of worry. It's as old as we are. The world feels like it's on fire now, sure, but Rome was burning, too. And Epictetus. He wasn't sipping wine on a villa rooftop. He was enslaved, later exiled, and yet, somehow, serene. How? That's what this entire journey is about. So tonight, settle in. We're not just talking about Stoicism. We're applying it, breathing it in, and hopefully by the end you'll walk away lighter. Because, as Epictetus said, we suffer not from events in themselves, but from our judgment about them. Let's begin where all Stoicism begins, with control. 1. Some things are up to us. Some are not. Anxiety, in its rawest form, is your mind trying to control the uncontrollable. You can feel it in your gut. That ache when a loved one doesn't text back. The panic when your boss sends a vague, "Can we talk?" email. The obsessive thought loop when you read the news and feel utterly helpless. But Epictetus reminds us, some things are in our power, others are not. Let that sink in. There's what you can control: your actions, your words, your values, your focus. And there's what you cannot: other people, outcomes, your past, your body's aging, the entire future. In 2025, the world tells you to take control of your life. But Epictetus, he'd ask, which part of it? Here's an exercise, simple but humbling. Spiritual exercise, number 1. Morning reflection on control. Tomorrow morning, before touching your phone, ask, what might happen today that's out of my control? How might I react with virtue instead? What is truly up to me? Write it down, then face your day with that clarity. You're not dodging life. You're choosing your battlefield. You see, when we confuse what's outside our control for what's ours to command, we become prisoners of worry. But when we make peace with reality, we reclaim our calm. Seneca said it like this: "He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a man who is alive." Anxiety keeps us in limbo, afraid to act, afraid to rest, stuck between futures that don't exist and pasts we can't touch. But what if we came back to this moment? What if, like Marcus Aurelius said, we reminded ourselves, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You might feel resistance here, you might say, but it's not that easy. Of course it isn't. That's why this is practice. That's why we don't just read Epictetus, we train with him. Let's go deeper. 2. The discipline of assent. You don't have to believe every thought. One of the most liberating lessons from the Stoics especially Epictetus, is this: don't give your assent to impressions too quickly. Translated into 2025 speak: just because your brain thinks it doesn't mean it's true. You're walking down the street. Someone frowns at you. Instantly, your mind says, they hate me. I must have done something wrong. That snap reaction. It's an impression. But the Stoics ask, did you test it? Did you examine it? Or did you just let it in? Anxiety thrives when we act as passive hosts to every wandering thought. But the Stoic, they're like a bouncer at the door of the mind. You want in, show me ID. Spiritual exercise. 2. Thought audit evening journaling. Tonight, write down a moment when you felt anxious. Then ask, what was the trigger? What story did I tell myself? Was that story true? What was in my control in that moment? This isn't about shame. It's about sharpening awareness. Over time, you'll start to catch those anxious spirals before they own you. Marcus Aurelius kept a journal, not because he was soft, but because he understood a mind left untrained will turn against you. So you train it daily, gently, with discipline. And when a thought says you're failing, you ask, by what measure? When a thought says you'll never be safe, you ask, is safety even in my control? When a thought says you can't handle this, you ask, haven't I handled worse? This isn't toxic positivity. It's sober realism. It's courage, not comfort. As Epictetus said, it is difficulties that show what men are. And you're not broken. You're just untrained. Let's train together. 3. Fear previews. Courage rehearses. Here's the wild thing about anxiety. It's almost always anticipatory. We don't fear the present. We fear the possibility of what could go wrong next. Epictetus and the Stoics use this to their advantage. Instead of running from fear, they stared it down. It's called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. They'd begin their day by imagining everything that could go wrong, not to suffer twice, but to build a kind of anti-fragility, to rehearse strength before the battle. What if you tried that? Spiritual exercise. 3. Premeditation on adversity. In the morning or even now ask, what could go wrong today? What would I do if it did? What virtues could I call on? Patience, courage, humility. Visualize not your failure, but your grace under pressure. Anxiety imagines the fall. Stoicism rehearses the landing. You might think, but isn't that pessimistic? No. It's liberating. Because when you've walked through the worst-case scenario in your mind on your terms, the world loses its power to shake you. You've seen the dark. You're ready for the dawn. Seneca wrote, "He who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." Try this for 1 week. You'll feel it shift. Not all at once, but slowly. Like a knot inside you starting to loosen. We're not done yet. Because to become truly resilient, you also have to flirt with discomfort, not just in the mind, but in the body. Which brings us to one of the most surprising Stoic habits. 4. Voluntary discomfort. Anxiety's unexpected antidote. We moderns are comfort addicts. Air conditioning, fast food, noise-canceling headphones, scroll, soothe, repeat. But Epictetus, he taught his students to skip meals, to sleep on rough bedding, to walk barefoot. Why? Because he knew when you choose discomfort, it loses its sting. Voluntary hardship builds confidence. When you practice going without, You realize you're not as fragile as your anxiety tells you. You don't need to go live in a cave. But try this. Spiritual exercise. Number 4. Voluntary discomfort. Choose one thing today to do the hard way. Take a cold shower. Leave your phone at home for an hour. Walk instead of drive. Eat a simpler meal. Then reflect. Did it kill me or did it free me? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary?" We carry so much weight we don't need. And much of that weight is worry about losing things we've become addicted to. But when you practice simplicity even briefly, you learn to let go. And in letting go, anxiety has fewer claws to cling to. Pause here. Feel your breath again. That's yours. Always was. The world will keep spinning. People will disappoint. The future will remain uncertain. But here inside this moment, you have tools. You have discernment. You have will. You have reason. That's the beginning of freedom. And that's what Epictetus would offer you today. Not comfort, but clarity. Not escape, but strength. Not a promise that life won't hurt, but a vow that you can handle it with virtue. Let's continue this journey together. You've made it through part 1, and that alone, that's a quiet triumph with you sitting here, listening, breathing, reflecting. See, in a world built to keep your attention fractured, the simple act of staying with something especially, something this inward, this slow burning is revolutionary. It's resistance. And resistance is exactly what we're training here. Not against the world, but against your own reflex to flinch, to spiral, to run. Epictetus never promised ease. What he offered was a method, a path. And today, we walk a little further down it. Let's return to the very heart of anxiety. The feeling of being at the mercy of life. That phrase, at the mercy, it's heavy, isn't it? Like you're a leaf in a hurricane. Like everything the news, your career, your relationships, your health is just happening to you. But Epictetus would tilt his head at that and say, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Let's explore what that kind of freedom actually means. 5. Anxiety is misused imagination. There's a quote often attributed to Seneca, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And isn't that the core of anxiety? It's not what's happening. It's what you think might happen. What your mind spins, loops, replays. You imagine your boss is disappointed. Your friend is pulling away. Your body is giving out. Your partner is hiding something. And in that imagining, your body follows tight chest, fast breath, racing thoughts. You live 10,000 tragedies that haven't happened. Epictetus would gently ask, is it true or is it opinion? You'd be surprised how many of our fears are opinions in disguise. Here's a tool the Stoics used, and it's as radical today as it was in Rome. Spiritual exercise. 5. Label the distortion evening journaling before bed. Reflect on one anxious thought from the day. Then ask, is this a fact or a story? I told myself, did I project the worst? Did I assume I could read someone else's mind? Did I mistake discomfort for danger? Name the distortion. Bring it into the light. That's how we reclaim it. This might feel familiar if you've done any cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT). That's no coincidence. CBT literally borrowed its backbone from Stoic thought, from Epictetus himself. Aaron T. Beck, the founder of CBT, said the philosophical origins of cognitive therapy can be traced back to the Stoic philosophers. So when you challenge your thoughts, When you reframe the story, you're not being fake positive. You're being profoundly stoic. 6. Building an inner citadel. One of Marcus Aurelius's most famous metaphors is that of the inner citadel, a fortress of the mind, built with reason, clarity, and virtue. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your mind is your home. The world may rain on it. Storms may batter it. But no one can tear it down unless you give them the keys." Anxiety slips in through the cracks when we forget that. When we outsource our peace to outcomes, to people, to headlines. But when you start laying the bricks moment by moment, reflection by reflection, you begin to feel grounded, even in chaos. And grounding isn't just a metaphor, it's a practice. Spiritual exercise. 6. Grounding in the present. Anytime you're overwhelmed, try this when anxiety surges. 1. Name 5 things you can see. 2. 4 you can touch. 3 you can hear. 4 2 you can smell. 5 1 you can taste. Then whisper to yourself, "This moment is mine." That's your citadel. Epictetus's citadel was built in exile, in poverty, with a limp and no family. Yours, you can build it anywhere. Even in a crowded apartment, on a sleepless night, in a city that never shuts up. All it takes is intention, and intention begins with awareness. 7. The anxiety of what if. Let's talk about the weaponized question. What if? What if I mess up? What if they leave? What if I fail? What if I get sick? What if it never gets better? It's endless. It eats at the edges of your day. You might smile on the outside, but inside, it's chaos. Epictetus didn't waste time arguing with what-ifs. He met them with reason. Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens, and you will be happy. This isn't surrender. This is strength. Because the real fear behind every what-if is I won't be okay. But what if? You will not, because life is predictable, but because you've trained for it. You've rehearsed adversity. You've embraced impermanence. You've chosen courage over control. And if you haven't yet, that's okay. Start now. Spiritual exercise. 7. Reframe the what-if. Anytime anxiety spirals, take one anxious what-if and flip it. What if I lose my job? What if I find new meaning after letting go? What if I'm alone forever? What if solitude teaches me strength? What if I fail? What if failure refines me into someone wiser? You're not lying to yourself. You're reminding yourself that the future isn't written, and your response is always yours to shape. You see, Stoicism isn't about becoming numb. It's about becoming resilient. And resilience, Epictetus would say, is a choice you make not once, but every day, every moment. He'd tell you, you may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus himself can fetter my will. So, what's trying to fetter yours today? The news, the silence of someone you love, the fear of being irrelevant, the pressure to succeed. It's all noise. Your task is to return to the signal, the present moment, the next right action, the strength of your character. That's the work. And yes, it's hard. But you're not doing it alone. You're standing in a long lineage of emperors, exiles, soldiers, survivors who've faced fear, just like you, who've stood, shook, and steadied themselves anyway, who've written words like these not as platitudes, but as survival guides. So when your anxiety whispers, "You're too weak," You whisper back, "I've trained for this," and you mean it. 8. Accepting that you will sometimes be afraid. The Stoics weren't gods. They got afraid. They got anxious. But they never let those feelings dictate who they were. Seneca said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." But he didn't say, "Never be afraid." He said, "Don't be ruled by it." Fear is part of being human, but anxiety becomes suffering when we resist it, panic about it, and shame ourselves for feeling it. So tonight, if you're anxious, start with this. Spiritual exercise. 8. Acceptance without resistance. Evening journaling. Write down. What fear arose in me today? Did I resist it, deny it, or meet it with curiosity? What did I learn about myself in that moment? Then close the journal. Breathe. You've already begun healing. Epictetus was clear: anxiety doesn't make you broken, it makes you alive. But left unexamined, it can take the wheel. Our work isn't to suppress it. Our work is to understand it, train with it, and use it like any sensation as a guide back to what truly matters. And what matters? According to Epictetus, not fame, not fortune, not even perfect calm, but virtue, strength of character, mastery of your own mind. That's the only piece that can't be taken from you. And that's where we'll go next. If you've made it this far, I want you to take a moment, not for me, not for the Stoics, for you, because this path, this journey of confronting your inner world rather than running from it, takes strength, quiet, steady, soul-level strength. Anxiety convinces us that we're weak, but the work you're doing here, it's the exact opposite. Epictetus didn't think strength was loud. He didn't think it was about domination or bravado. He believed strength meant this: to master your impressions, govern your desires, and act in accordance with virtue, especially when your nerves are frayed and the world is screaming. No man is free, he said, unless he is master of himself. So today, we're going to talk about what that mastery looks like, what it means to live not reactively, not impulsively, but deliberately. Because anxiety is a thief. It steals your presence. It rushes you, pressures you, panics you into forgetting who you are and what you're about. But you can take your mind back. And the Stoics, they'll show us how. Let's begin with something radical. 9. The pause. Between feeling and reaction. In the Discourses, Epictetus teaches that between an impression and our reaction lies judgment. Something happens, you receive an email, get cut off in traffic, read a headline, you feel something. But in between that feeling and your action is a sacred pause. That's where your freedom lives. That's where you decide, do I act with wisdom? Or do I get swept away? That pause, it's a skill, a muscle, and you can train it. Spiritual exercise. 9. The pause, practice. Real-time mindfulness. For one day, set a silent intention. Whenever I feel a spike of anxiety, I will pause, just for 5 seconds. In those 5 seconds, ask, is this worth reacting to? What would a wise person do right now? Is this in my control? Let the breath anchor you. Let clarity catch up to emotion, then respond. Don't react. Seneca once said, a great part of the harm that is done in this world is due to people who want to feel important. They don't mean to do harm, but the harm does not interest them. When anxiety drives us, we lash out. We say things we regret. We chase false security. We forget ourselves. But when we pause, when we give space between the emotion and the action, we become human again, whole, intentional, calm. And in that space, we get closer to what the Stoics called prohairesis, our faculty of reasoned choice. That's your inner command center. And no one, not your boss, not your ex, not your hormones or your inbox, has access to it unless you hand them the keys. Hold on to that key. It's everything. 10. Distinguishing appearances from reality. Here's something Epictetus drilled into his students relentlessly. What upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about the things. A shaky voice doesn't mean you're weak. An unanswered text doesn't mean you're unloved. A quiet room doesn't mean something's wrong. Anxious feelings don't mean danger. But we confuse feelings for truth all the time. Modern neuroscience actually confirms this. The brain has a negativity bias. It's wired to scan for threat. That's why you can get 99 compliments and 1 insult. And what do you remember? Yep, that 1 insult. But Epictetus, long before brain scans, saw this happening, and he gave us a way out. Practice saying to every harsh appearance, "You are just an appearance, and not at all the thing you appear to be." In other words, don't believe everything you feel. Spiritual exercise. 10. Just an appearance. Mantra practice. The next time a wave of anxiety hits, say softly either aloud or in your mind, "This is just an appearance. It is not the thing itself." Repeat it, even if it doesn't feel real yet. Anchor yourself in that mantra. With time, the distance between what is and what you assume it is becomes clearer. This isn't denial, it's clarity. It's seeing the world not through your panic, but through your principles. And speaking of principles, let's talk about one that changes everything. 11. Anchoring your identity in virtue, not emotion. When you're anxious, it's easy to think I'm failing, I'm weak, I'm broken. But that's a misunderstanding, a dangerous one, because your worth is not measured by your mood. It's measured by your character. And character isn't reactive. It's chosen, cultivated, practiced. Epictetus would say, "You are not your body. You are not your reputation. You are not your anxiety. You are your choices." And what choices do the Stoics elevate above all? Wisdom, right perception, courage, right action in the face of fear, justice, right treatment of others, temperance, right balance of desire and restraint. These are not abstract ideals. They are how you navigate a storm. So when anxiety says you can't handle this, you answer, "But I can choose wisdom." When it says you're powerless, you reply, "But I can act with courage." When it screams escape, you whisper, "But I can meet this moment with temperance." You are not your heartbeat. You are not your symptoms. You are your compass. Spiritual exercise. 11 daily virtue. Check in evening journaling before bed. Ask, "Did I act with wisdom today? If not, where did I misjudge? Did I act with courage today? If not, what did I avoid? Did I act justly? If not, where was I selfish or impatient? Did I act with temperance? If not, where did I indulge or overreact?" No judgment, just clarity. This is how we grow stronger, not by shaming ourselves, but by aligning with who we want to become. Marcus Aurelius used this method every night as emperor in a tent with soldiers dying around him. He wrote himself into someone stronger, You can do the same, one line at a time. Let's go even deeper now. 12. Anxiety and the fear of death. This is the shadow underneath so many fears. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of endings. At its root is often the fear of death, physical death, social death, ego death, the death of what we thought we were. But the Stoics, they walked into that shadow. They stared it down. Epictetus said death is nothing terrible. Terrible is the opinion about death that it is terrible. He wasn't cold. He wasn't trying to shock. He was free. Because when you stop fearing death, you stop fearing life. Seneca echoed this. He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a man who is alive. So much anxiety comes from avoiding what is inevitable, from pretending we can control the uncontrollable. But when you accept death not passively, but with reverence, life becomes sweeter. Each morning is a gift. Each conversation, a miracle. Each breath, a practice. Spiritual exercise. Number 12, Memento Mori morning reflection. Each morning, whisper, I may die today. So let me live wisely. Not to scare yourself, but to remind your heart what matters. Not perfection, not safety, but presence, kindness, clarity, peace. Let that shape your day. So here you are, now, with 12 tools, 12 practices from a man who lived in chains and still found freedom. You're not just managing anxiety. You're transforming your relationship to it. You're building a philosophy of life. Something you can carry into traffic, into conflict, into grief. You're becoming the kind of person who, when fear arrives, opens the door and says, there you are. Let's sit, let's breathe, let's walk through this together. That's what Stoicism gives you. Not escape, but courage. And courage, my friend, is a practice. We'll keep practicing together. So we meet again, here in the stillness between distractions. Maybe you've had a long day. Maybe anxiety has already knocked on your door a few times today, or maybe it's never quite left. Either way, this moment is yours. And that's not a slogan. That's the truth. Epictetus taught that every day offers us a sacred responsibility to examine ourselves, to live according to reason, and to bring our desires in harmony with nature. Now, in 2025, where almost every algorithm wants to steal your attention and monetize your fear, living with intention has never been more necessary or more radical. So let's return to our guide, Epictetus, and let's go deeper. Because what he gives us is more than comfort. It's capacity. The ability to stand up inside ourselves, look anxiety in the eye, and respond from strength, not fear. Today, we explore that strength. Let's begin with one of the most misunderstood aspects of Stoicism. 13. You're allowed to feel. You just don't have to be ruled by it. Let's clear something up. Stoicism is not emotional suppression. It's not a blank face. It's not pretending you're okay when you're falling apart. It's not telling yourself I shouldn't feel this when anxiety crawls up your spine. Epictetus never said, don't feel. He said, we must not let the force of impressions carry us away. You see the distinction. He didn't tell us to eliminate emotions. He told us to examine them. Feelings arise. That's human. But what you do with those feelings, how you interpret them, how you act on them, that's where your power lies. So when anxiety bubbles up, the Stoic doesn't go, this is bad. I need to crush it. They go, Hello? What are you trying to teach me? This isn't passivity, it's presence. Let's practice that. Spiritual exercise. 13. Befriending the feeling real-time check-in. When anxiety appears, try this instead of resisting it. 1. Name the feeling. This is fear. This is worry. This is panic. 2. Locate it in your body. Breathe into it. Don't rush it. 3. Ask gently, what's the story I'm telling myself right now? 4. Then ask, is that story useful? Is it true? Is it mine to control? Let the feeling move rather than bury it. This is how the Stoics stayed composed, not because they didn't feel, but because they understood their emotions instead of being enslaved by them. And over time, that understanding becomes freedom. Let's build on that. 14. Anxiety and the tyranny of should. Ever notice how many anxious thoughts start with should? I should be further along by now. I should be calm. I shouldn't feel this way. They should understand me. Every should is a battle between your expectations and reality. And in that gap, anxiety blooms. But Epictetus offers a quiet revolution. He invites us to drop the should and ask instead, is this in accordance with nature now? That phrase, in accordance with nature, might sound abstract, but here's what it means in practice. Did this happen? Yes. Is it mine to control? No. Then it belongs to nature. And my task is to meet it with virtue. You see, acceptance isn't resignation, it's orientation. When you orient your expectations to what is, you stop resisting the moment, and resistance is where most anxiety lives. Spiritual exercise. 14. The should audit. Evening journaling before bed. Reflect. What should haunted me today? Did I resist something out of my control? How would a Stoic respond instead? Then write the new belief. What is. I will meet it with wisdom, not war. When you stop demanding that the world be different, and instead bring your best to this moment, you become unshakable, not immune, not numb, unshakable. Let's move to something even more practical now. 15. The Stoic calendar. Living one day at a time, anxiety thrives in time travel. We're constantly replaying yesterday's mistakes or forecasting tomorrow's disasters. We live everywhere but here. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us, confine yourself to the present. And Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Translation, be where you are. Let people misunderstand you. Let the future be uncertain. Just be here, right now, with what you have, as you are. There's a quiet power in shrinking the timeline. Not, what will I do this year, but, what can I do well today? What virtue can I practice this hour? What truth can I tell right now? That shift changes everything. Spiritual exercise. 15. Morning prompt. Just for today. Each morning, write one sentence just for today. I will focus on acting with patience, or meeting fear with courage, or accepting uncertainty, or doing my duty. Nothing more. One sentence, one aim, one day. Repeat. This is how the Stoics beat overwhelm, not by changing the world, but by narrowing their focus. And in that narrowness, they found freedom. You can too. 16. Rehearsing failure to become fearless. We all fear failure. That's human. But anxiety takes it further. It paints failure as catastrophe, as the end of identity, as something we'll never recover from. But Epictetus, he says, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And Seneca writes, set aside a certain number of days, on which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself, is this the condition I feared? This is more than a philosophy. It's a practice of becoming unafraid through experience. You fear losing money. Live simply for a week. You fear being misunderstood. Speak your truth gently anyway. You fear rejection. Make peace with not being everyone's cup of tea. Fear becomes manageable when you meet it on purpose. Spiritual exercise. Number 16, Mini Failure Rehearsal Weekly Challenge. Pick one small fear this week. Being judged. Wear something quirky. Not being good enough. Try something you're bad at on purpose. Rejection. Reach out to someone and risk the no. Afterward, reflect. Did I survive? Did it define me? Or did it free me? The more you rehearse difficulty, the less it owns you. And then you walk through life lighter, because you're no longer defending a fragile self. You're embodying a resilient one. And that's where real calm lives, not in avoiding storms, but in training for them. Let's close this part with a truth you might have forgotten. 17. You are already equipped for this. You might be thinking, this sounds beautiful, but I'm not there yet. I still get overwhelmed. I still freak out. Of course you do. You're human. But so was Epictetus. So was Marcus. So was Seneca. They weren't born Stoic legends. They became who they were through practice, through failure, through reflection, through daily decisions to meet the world as it is not as they feared it to be. So are you there yet? No. But here's the real Stoic answer: you are always becoming. And everything you need to take the next step, you already have it. A breath, a pause, a choice, a journal, a whisper that says, try again. You are not the chaos. You are the calm, choosing how to walk through it. Let's take that next step together. So we meet again between breaths, between thoughts, between whatever you just carried through the door and whatever you're still gripping in your chest. Let's just stop here for a moment. This, right here, this pause. This is where Stoicism begins, not in some grand declaration, not in perfection, but in a breath, in a choice, in the smallest act of turning inward to say, wait, what's actually mine in this moment? That's what Epictetus spent his life teaching. Not just philosophy as a theory, but as training, as preparation, as armor not to harden your heart, but to protect your peace. And tonight, we train deeper. Because now we're reaching the beating heart of the anxious mind identity. Anxiety doesn't just make us afraid of events. It makes us question who we are in the face of them. Am I strong enough? Am I worth anything if I mess this up? Who am I if I'm not succeeding, pleasing, winning, controlling? Epictetus would have looked you gently in the eye and said, you are not your job. You are not your body. You are not your pain. You are your choices. Let's explore what that really means. 18. Your identity is not on trial. Anxiety, in its quiet cruelty, makes every situation about your worth. You miss a deadline, you're incompetent. Someone's upset with you, you're a bad person. You didn't handle a panic moment perfectly, you're broken. But Stoicism reminds us there is a difference between what happens and what it means. Epictetus said, if you wish to be a writer, write. If you wish to be a philosopher, practice philosophy. He didn't say, first, be perfect. Then you're allowed to act. He said, start by acting as the person you wish to be. and you become them in the process. Your identity isn't a fragile trophy. It's a craft, built daily, and you don't owe the world a performance. You owe yourself alignment between values and action. Let's make that real. Spiritual exercise, or 18. Who am I practicing to be evening journaling? At the end of your day, ask, what kind of person did I practice being today? Where did I act in line with my values? Where did I stray, and what can I learn? Then write one line tomorrow. I will practice being by doing. Identity is practice, not perfection. This is how you begin to undo the knots anxiety ties around your self-worth. You stop outsourcing your value to achievement, and you start claiming it through intention. One act at a time. 19. You are not obligated to be in control. In the modern world, control is treated like virtue. Plan everything, predict everything, preempt everything. But Epictetus would laugh at our calendars and our step-by-step life hacks. He'd say, you are but an actor in a play. Your role is not yours to choose only how well you perform it. There is no shame in not controlling the script. Your power lies in delivering your lines with grace, courage, and presence no matter what chaos unfolds around you. Let's try a small rebellion today. Spiritual exercise. Note 19. Choose surrender. Voluntary discomfort in letting go. Pick one thing you usually try to control and don't today. Let someone else make the plan. Don't check the tracking number. Let a text go unanswered for a few hours. Leave a decision unresolved on purpose. Let the discomfort arise. Then tell yourself this is training. I do not need to control everything to be okay. Watch what happens. Control is seductive. It gives the illusion of safety. But Stoic peace comes not from dominating the day, it comes from meeting the day as it is. From dropping the sword and picking up stillness. 20. You don't need to fix every feeling. Raise your hand if you've ever tried to solve your anxiety like a math problem. Why am I like this? How do I make this go away? What's the root of this exact sensation in my chest right now? And then you spiral deeper, trying to think your way out of a feeling. But Epictetus reminds us, don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do. You don't need to fix your feelings. You need to stand next to them without flinching. To say, you again. Let's sit. And in that quiet, the storm begins to pass. Let's practice that. Spiritual exercise. 20. Feel it, don't fix it midday. Check in. When a strong emotion arises today, try this. 1. Notice it. I feel anxious. 2. Drop the story. Don't solve it. Don't analyze it. 3. Breathe. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. 4. Place a hand on your heart and whisper, this is a wave. I am the ocean. Repeat as needed. You are allowed to feel without fixing. Over time, this will soften your nervous system. You'll become less afraid of your own emotional life and anxiety. It will no longer be an enemy. It will be a messenger and nothing more. 21. You cannot lose what is not yours. This one is hard, especially in 2025, where everything is a measurement. Followers, dollars, validation, performance, youth. But Epictetus offers the most powerful reframe of all. Never say about anything I have lost it, but only that I have given it back. He taught that nothing external is truly ours. Not our possessions, not our status, not even our loved ones. That doesn't mean we don't care. It means we don't cling, because clinging is fear disguised as love. And in that fear, anxiety grows. But when you love freely, without ownership, when you do your best and release the rest, when you walk through life with open hands instead of clenched fists, you are finally free. Spiritual exercise. 21. Practice non-attachment. Evening reflection. Tonight, reflect. What did I try to grasp today? What am I afraid of losing? What would it look like to love without owning? Then write, I hold nothing, I honor everything, and I release what is not mine. This is not cold detachment. It's the deepest kind of love, one that honors, participates, and lets go. This is where the Stoic meets the heart, and it brings us here. 22. Returning to the present. If anxiety is a thief, its favorite thing to steal is now, the meal in front of you, the conversation you're in, the sunset outside the window, the soft breath in your chest. And here's the Stoic truth: while you are afraid of dying, you forget to live. That doesn't mean Stoics never look ahead, but they always return. Return to the thing in front of them, the duty at hand, the beauty and simplicity, the choice, right now, to be present. No matter how imperfect the moment is, let's come back together now. Spiritual exercise. 22. The anchor breath. Anytime when you feel disconnected, close your eyes and breathe. Inhale this moment. Exhale is enough. 3 times. Slowly. Come back, come home. Because in the end, anxiety is not an enemy to be conquered. It is a pattern to be retrained, a wave to be ridden, a teacher to be heard. And you are the student who keeps showing up, who keeps walking, who keeps practicing one breath, one line, one virtue at a time. Epictetus would be proud, but more importantly, you'll be proud of yourself. And we're only halfway through. Let's keep going. You've passed the halfway point in this journey. And whether your progress has been steady or a little shaky, it still counts. You're here. That matters. Because in the Stoic view, what matters most is not how fast you walk, or how clean your steps look to others, but that you continue to walk in the direction of virtue, of clarity, of mastery over yourself. And let's not forget the deeper reason we're here together: not to erase anxiety, but to walk with it without flinching, to strip it of its power, not by running from it, but by understanding it, observing it, choosing not to fear it. This isn't about becoming the most Stoic person in the room. It's about becoming you without all the noise. And that noise, it starts to fade when we understand the source, when we stop thinking of anxiety as the enemy and start seeing it as the invitation. So today, let's talk about what it means to step into a Stoic life more fully, not just in your thoughts, but in your habits, your responses, and your daily rituals. Let's begin with what's often hiding behind anxiety. 23. The fear of disapproval. One of the most universal human fears and one of the most consistent sources of anxiety is the fear of what other people think. Will they misunderstand me? Will they think I'm weak? Will they see through me? Will they like me? Now, Epictetus doesn't waste time sugarcoating this. He goes straight to the core. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Yes, that's uncomfortable. but it's liberating. Because the moment you become okay with being misunderstood, judged, or even dismissed, you start to live with actual freedom. You realize their opinion is not your responsibility. And even more importantly, you realize that peace doesn't come from being seen a certain way. It comes from acting according to your values, regardless of how it's received. Spiritual exercise. 23. The daily disapproval drill. Voluntary discomfort. Do something small today that risks disapproval. Wear something you like that others might find odd. Voice a calm, honest opinion in a conversation. Say no without an apology or over-explanation. Afterward. Journal. What did I fear would happen? What actually happened? Did my integrity stay intact? You'll find that disapproval stings far less when you've already chosen yourself. This is a powerful Stoic truth. You are not your reputation. You are not your curated image. You are your choices. And the more you act in alignment with your values, the less you need the world to validate them. 24. The trap of comparison. Let's talk about the silent source of modern anxiety: comparison. You know the feeling. You're doing okay until you scroll, until you see someone your age achieving more, loving better, looking calmer, living their best life. And suddenly, your peace crumbles. Epictetus didn't have social media, but he understood this dynamic intimately. He said, "Another has not harmed you. He has merely done something about which you feel badly." In other words, your pain doesn't come from them. It comes from what you make it mean about you. So how do we respond? We return to what's ours. Their job, not yours. Their fame, not yours. Their calm expression while you're unraveling, not yours. What is yours? Your will. Your reasoned choice. Your next move. Let's make that a daily practice. Spiritual exercise. 24. The comparison cure morning reflection. Begin your day with this journal prompt. What's in my power to do today? No matter what anyone else is doing, let's do this. 3 simple, aligned actions. Let them anchor your worth. You don't need to catch up. You need only to be present for your own path. There is no race. There is only the rhythm of your own becoming. And that rhythm, it becomes clearer when you stop trying to dance to someone else's music. 25. The power of self-direction. Anxiety often comes from waiting for answers, for permission, for the right moment. But Epictetus reminds us that waiting is often a form of avoidance. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. In other words, stop talking about what matters and start living it. Don't wait for motivation. Create momentum. Don't wait for peace to arrive. Build a structure that invites it. Don't wait to become the person you admire. Act like them now. This is not about forcing yourself into productivity. It's about choosing a path, even when uncertainty surrounds you. Because Stoicism doesn't promise clarity about the future. It promises clarity about your role in it. Let's move with that in mind. Spiritual exercise. 25. Lead yourself midday. Reset feeling stuck, pause and ask, what would the wisest version of me do right now? What can I do well in the next 10 minutes? Then go do that. No drama, no delay. Leadership starts within. Every small act of direction strengthens your internal compass. And when the compass is strong, you don't need a map. You'll navigate your life moment by moment with intention, not impulse. 26. Use the body to anchor the mind. We often forget this part of Stoicism, but it's essential. The mind is not the only training ground. The body matters too, because anxiety lives in the body: tight jaw, tense shoulders, shallow breath. And we cannot reason our way to peace while ignoring the signals of our flesh. Seneca once said, "A healthy mind in a healthy body." And while Stoics never obsessed over aesthetics or brute strength, they did practice physical self-discipline. Why? Because it cultivated presence, strength, grit, groundedness. So let's honor that. Spiritual exercise. 26. Voluntary discomfort. Body discipline. Once this week, choose discomfort on purpose. A cold shower, a longer walk in silence, sitting with mild hunger before eating. Then journal. What did I feel? What thoughts arose? Did I survive it? This is resilience training, not punishment preparation. The more you train your body to face discomfort calmly, the more your mind learns that discomfort is not doom. And once you realize discomfort won't break you, anxiety begins to lose its grip. 27. Embracing the unfinished journey. And now, a truth you might not want to hear. You will not arrive at a place where you are never anxious again. There is no mountaintop where you're permanently enlightened, no single moment where you figure it all out. But Epictetus would smile at that thought and nod, because that's not the point. He wrote, "No great thing is created suddenly. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. You keep showing up. You keep asking questions. You keep adjusting the course. That is philosophy. That is the Stoic life. And you know what? That's more than enough." So when anxiety arises again, and it will, you don't panic. You return to the tools. You reflect. You breathe. You respond. You start over without shame. Because to be a Stoic is not to be perfect. It's to become deliberately. Let's make that your anchor. Spiritual exercise. 27. Begin again. Evening journaling tonight. Write. Where did I fall short today? What lesson did it give me? What's one thing I will do better tomorrow? Then close the book. Release the day. Begin again. You're not late. You're not broken. You're learning. And that is the Stoic path. Let's keep walking. We're not just talking about anxiety anymore, are we? We're building a philosophy of living. One breath at a time, one virtue at a time, one day at a time. You see, anxiety doesn't live in isolation. It attaches itself to meaningless noise, to illusions of control, to false identities, to comparisons, to imagined futures. But when we clear that noise even for a moment, we find something else waiting underneath. Something quiet, something steady, something you might have forgotten was there. It's you, not the anxious version of you, not the version trying to prove or perform or protect, just the you that observes, reflects, chooses, the you that Epictetus called the ruling faculty. If a man gave your body to any stranger he met on his way, you would be angry. But you hand over your mind to anyone who comes along, to be upset and confused if he insults you. Are you not ashamed of that? Let's stop handing over our minds. Let's reclaim them with practice, with reflection, with grace. Today's part is about something most people get wrong about Stoicism. something that could unlock a completely new way of experiencing anxiety. Let's begin. 28. Stoicism is not about being untouched. It's about being unshaken. There's a myth that Stoics are emotionless, that they walk around like robotic sages, unbothered by pain or loss or grief. That's not true. The Stoics felt deeply. They just refused to be owned by what they felt. Marcus Aurelius cried for his children. Seneca wrote letters about his heartbreak and insomnia. Epictetus. He was born a slave, crippled by a master, endured exile, and still taught others how to live with joy. None of that is emotional suppression. It's emotional sovereignty. A quiet reminder that you can feel your fear and still act with courage. You can acknowledge your sadness and still keep your commitments. You can tremble and still choose virtue. So the goal isn't to become stone. The goal is to become like the rock that the wave breaks upon and still remains. Spiritual exercise. 28. Emotional weather report midday. Pause. Set an alarm for a random moment in the day. When it rings, pause and ask, what emotion is visiting me right now? What triggered it? Can I allow it without becoming it? Say aloud, this is weather. I am the sky. Let it pass through. You are the container, not the content. And the stronger your container becomes, the less you fear the contents. Let's go deeper. 29. Anxiety often disguises itself as productivity. Have you ever found yourself obsessively organizing, planning, scrolling, reading self-help, making to-do lists, researching better breathing techniques, and underneath all that, a buzzing sense of panic? This is the anxious mind's favorite trick distraction disguised as discipline. But Epictetus would cut through it like a blade. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Not plan, not overthink, not distract. Do. And here's the uncomfortable truth: a lot of our productivity is actually avoidance. Avoiding silence, avoiding presence, avoiding the quiet place where anxiety lives. So what's the Stoic move to act, simply and clearly, on what's essential, and to drop the rest? Spiritual exercise. 29. Essentialism audit evening journaling. Write down your top 3 actions today. Then ask, were these necessary? Did I choose them? Or did I escape into them? Write tomorrow. I will do only what aligns with reason and virtue. Fewer motions, deeper impact. Stillness is often scarier than busyness, but stillness is where the real work happens. Let's meet it. 30. Pain is not the problem. Panic is pain, discomfort, awkwardness, tension. These are facts of life. What turns them into suffering is panic. You know this. The moment you start telling yourself, I can't feel this, it's too much, something's wrong with me for feeling this, that's when the pain becomes unbearable. But here's what Epictetus taught, over and over. It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. Pain is a message. Panic is a reaction to the message. And if you can pause long enough to read the message, you start to realize most of your anxiety isn't about what's happening. It's about what you've decided it means. Let's rewrite that script. Spiritual exercise. 30 de-panic practice, real time. Next time discomfort hits, pause and ask, what is actually happening in my body? What story am I layering on top of this? Can I drop the story and just feel the raw sensation? Say aloud, this is uncomfortable, but it is not dangerous. Sit with it. No rescue, just presence. Watch the panic shrink. This is what Epictetus meant by mastery, not escape, but endurance guided by understanding. And when you understand your inner world, you no longer fear it. 31. Cultivating inner authority. Let's say this out loud. No one else gets to define your worth. Not your boss, not your ex, not your friends, not your anxiety, not even your past self. Your authority is internal. And Epictetus knew this better than anyone. He said, "Seek not for events to happen as you wish, but wish for events to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly." Why? Because the moment you try to control the external world to validate your inner world, you lose twice. You lose the moment, and you lose your peace. But when you stop outsourcing your validation, when you decide, I get to name what success is for me today, I get to define integrity, not the algorithm. I get to measure myself by how I live, not how I look. Then anxiety loses its grip. Let's make that real. Spiritual exercise. 31. Internal metrics. Morning reflection. Write this. What does a successful day look like by my standards? What would it mean to live well today only? Then repeat aloud. I measure myself by my principles, not by results. Freedom isn't found in results. It's found in returning to your own compass. You can live your entire life chasing other people's definitions, or you can step off that path and walk your own. Let's take one more step. Now dim the lights. Let your eyes soften. Let your shoulders drop. And close this session in peace. You did something powerful tonight. You remembered who you are. Now rest in that knowing. Good night, sweet dreams.